Welcome to The New Sentinel, the podcast dedicated to providing in-depth discussions and deep dives into a wide array of topics. From the glitz and glamour of pop culture to the strategic intricacies of military operations, we cover it all. Every episode is thoughtfully crafted to offer you a comprehensive understanding of the subject matter, featuring expert interviews, detailed analysis, and engaging storytelling. Whether you are a pop culture enthusiast or someone with a keen interest in global security, you will find something here. And before we dive in, if you want to advertise with us and reach an audience that values deep insights, simply contact us at claebede@yahoo.com. Today, we are staring down a massive, almost dizzying paradox in the global economy. On one hand, you have a booming job market. People are getting hired. On the other hand, trillions of dollars are just evaporating from chip stocks, and oil tankers are navigating a geopolitical minefield in the Middle East. It feels like we are living in two completely different realities.
It really does. You look at Main Street and the engines are humming. You look at Wall Street and the global supply chain, and the warning lights are flashing red. It is the ultimate economic whiplash. We have incredibly strong May hiring data colliding head-on with Federal Reserve rate panic, a massive tech slump, and escalating Iran-related strains. It is a perfect storm of conflicting data points.
And that is exactly what we are decoding today. How does a genuinely positive jobs report send the market into a tailspin? And more importantly, how does a disruption in a narrow waterway, thousands of miles away, dictate the price of your groceries? Let us start with this May jobs report. It was a massive surprise. Hiring is remarkably strong. Normally, you would think, great, people have jobs, the economy is healthy, let us celebrate. But the market reacted like it had just seen a ghost, specifically in the tech sector, wiping out trillions in chip stocks. Why is good news suddenly bad news?
Think of the economy right now like a high-speed train approaching a sharp curve. The Federal Reserve is the conductor, trying to slow the train down by keeping interest rates high to fight inflation. When the jobs report comes in hot, it tells the conductor that the train is actually still speeding up. That means the Fed might have to keep rates higher for much longer than anticipated, or even hike them again.
So the fear of higher borrowing costs just spooks the investors completely.
Exactly. And the tech sector, especially semiconductor and chip stocks, is incredibly sensitive to interest rates because their massive valuations are based on future growth. When borrowing money gets expensive, that future growth looks a lot less profitable today. We saw a historic slump. Trillions wiped out in a matter of days. It is a harsh reminder that in the current financial climate, a resilient labor market is perceived as the biggest threat to stock market liquidity.
That is a fascinating way to look at it. Let us structure this chaos a bit. If we were to run a SWOT analysis on this specific economic landscape, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, how does this all shake out?
That is the perfect framework for this. Let us start with the strengths. The undeniable strength here is the domestic labor market. Despite all the macro-level panic, companies are still hiring, and consumers still have paychecks. That creates a powerful baseline of economic resilience. A strong consumer base keeps the domestic gears turning, even when global markets panic.
Right. The foundation is holding, but the weaknesses are glaring, especially when you look at how fragile investor confidence is right now.
Very glaring. The primary weakness is the market's absolute dependency on the Federal Reserve's rate decisions. The financial system is effectively addicted to the era of cheap money, and the withdrawal symptoms are severe. Another critical weakness is the over-concentration of capital in just a few tech and chip stocks. When they sneeze, the entire index catches a cold,
Which brings us to opportunities. Where is the silver lining in a market that just lost trillions of dollars?
The opportunity lies in market correction and strategic reallocation. A massive dip in chip stocks, which are fundamentally essential to our future, from artificial intelligence to electric vehicles and advanced defense tech, creates a prime buying opportunity for long-term investors. It also forces these massive tech companies to streamline operations. It is a reality check that burns off the excess froth in the market, making the surviving capital much more efficient.
But the threats. That is where things get genuinely alarming. We are not just talking about a spreadsheet changing numbers or a tech CEO losing a bonus. We are talking about real-world geopolitical friction.
Precisely. The biggest threats in our SWOT analysis are external and largely uncontrollable. You have escalating Iran-related strains, which tie directly into massive global supply chain risks. We are looking at a highly fragile geopolitical ecosystem where one misstep can trigger a global shockwave.
Let us pivot exactly to that. The Strait of Hormuz. It is essentially a geographical bottleneck, a narrow strip of water, yet it basically holds the global economy hostage. What actually happens when disruptions hit there?
To put it in perspective, about a fifth of the world's daily oil consumption passes through the Strait of Hormuz. It is the jugular vein of global energy. When you have Iran-related tensions spiking, the risk of that strait being blocked, or even just restricted, skyrockets. Immediately, insurance premiums for commercial shipping vessels go through the roof. Ships have to reroute, which adds weeks to transit times and burns massive amounts of extra fuel.
And all of that friction translates directly into cost.
Instantly. The price of a barrel of oil spikes, but it does not stop at the gas pump. Oil is the lifeblood of the global supply chain. When diesel costs more, trucking costs more. When maritime shipping costs more, every single product imported from overseas becomes more expensive. That plastic toy, the components for your smartphone, your everyday groceries, they all carry the hidden tax of geopolitical instability.
It is wild to think about. You go to the supermarket, and the price of milk is subtly dictated by naval posturing in the Middle East. It really highlights the illusion of stability. We build these hyper-optimized, just-in-time supply chains, but they are incredibly brittle, aren't they?
They are built purely for efficiency, not resilience. We traded security for profit margins over the last 30 years. Now, we are paying the price. When a geopolitical crisis hits, there is no buffer. The shock travels straight from a tanker in the Middle East to your wallet.
So, how do decision makers, whether they are corporate executives or government officials, navigate this? If we switch gears from evaluating the situation to actually planning a response, let us apply a MOST analysis. Mission, objectives, strategies, and tactics. How do you manage a world where job growth crashes the stock market and a distant strait threatens global trade?
Let us look at it from the perspective of national economic and security policy. The mission is clear: achieve sustainable domestic economic growth while securing critical supply chains against foreign disruption. You cannot have national security without economic stability, and vice versa.
Okay, so if that is the overarching mission, what are the specific objectives to get there?
The objectives would be twofold. First, tame inflation without triggering a massive recession, the classic soft landing everyone talks about. Second, reduce dependency on geopolitical choke points by a specific measurable metric. For example, decreasing reliance on Middle Eastern oil and Asian semiconductor manufacturing by 20% over the next 5 years.
That makes sense. The mission is the ultimate destination. The objectives are the milestones. So what is the strategy to hit those milestones?
The strategy for the first objective is data-driven monetary policy. The Fed keeps rates elevated but remains ready to pivot the moment the labor market actually cracks. For the second objective, the strategy is aggressive nearshoring and friendshoring. You bring manufacturing back home, or you move it to allied nations. You invest heavily in domestic semiconductor production, so you are not at the mercy of overseas tensions or shipping lanes.
Which brings us down to the ground level. The tactics, the day-to-day actions.
The tactics are the nitty-gritty. It is the Fed analyzing this exact May jobs report and deciding to hold rates steady this month. It is the government deploying naval assets to the Middle East to escort commercial vessels and deter aggression in the Strait of Hormuz. It is providing tax subsidies to tech companies building chip factories in Ohio or Arizona. Tactics are the immediate, practical levers you pull to execute the strategy.
It is fascinating to see it broken down like that. It connects the dots between a macro concept like global security and the micro reality of a single jobs report. But it also forces us to ask a deeper question about the ultimate cost of this transition. We are moving from a world of easy money and frictionless global trade into a world of high interest rates, militarized supply chains, and economic nationalism. Who ultimately pays the price for this shift?
That is the philosophical core of this whole transition. The consumer pays the price. The era of cheap goods, subsidized by fragile supply chains and 0% interest rates, is over. We are entering an era where resilience is prioritized over efficiency. And resilience is expensive. It means higher structural inflation. It means the stock market might not see the explosive, uninterrupted growth we got used to over the last decade.
It sounds like we are waking up from a very comfortable dream into a much harsher reality. The trillions wiped out in the chip sector might just be the first growing pains of an economy trying to re-anchor itself to something real, rather than just cheap debt.
Exactly. We are repricing risk. For a long time, the market assumed peace was guaranteed and money was free. Neither of those things is true anymore. The strong jobs report shows the human engine of the economy is still working, but the geopolitical strains and the market volatility show that the tracks we are driving on are buckling.
It is a profound shift. We are essentially watching the rewiring of the global order in real time. And the sparks flying from those wires are what we call market volatility.
And it is not going to settle down anytime soon. The friction in the Strait of Hormuz, the push and pull between the Fed and the labor market, these are not temporary glitches. They are the new operating system of the global economy.
As we wrap up this deep dive, it leaves us with a lot to chew on. We started by looking at a paradox: strong hiring versus a stock market wipeout, and we ended up uncovering a fundamental transformation in how the world does business. The next time you see a headline about an unexpected jobs report or a skirmish near a distant waterway, remember that it is all connected. It is all part of the same complex web that dictates the security of our nations and the balance of our bank accounts.
The world is shrinking, but the risks are multiplying. Staying informed is not just a hobby anymore. It is a necessity to navigate what is coming next.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the chaos. We hope this analysis gave you a clearer lens through which to view the news. Remember to tune in, share, view, and comment to stay informed and entertained. And once again, if you are looking to get your message in front of an audience that values deep, strategic thinking, reach out to us for advertising at claebede@yahoo.com. Until next time, keep your eyes open and stay vigilant. This is the New Sentinel, signing off.